Solomon Lazard was born in Lorraine, France on April 5, 1827. He moved to New York in 1844 before going to California. He began his first dry goods store in Los Angeles that was named Lazard and Kremer Company in 1852. Maurice Kremer, who also immigrated from France, had their store in Mellis Row on the corner of Los Angeles Street and Allison Street. In 1857, Maurice Kremer sold his share of the store to Timoteo Wolfskill, and the name changed to Lazard and Wolfskill Company. Wolfskill left the business just over a year later, and the company became S. Lazard and Company. Solomon then moved his store to 53 Main Street and offered the finest and most up-to-date women's French fashion wear and accessories. On March 3, 1874, wanting to retire, Solomon Lazard sold his company to Mark Eugene Meyer, Constant Meyer, and Nathan Kahn. With new ownership under the operation of Eugene Meyer and Company, they renamed the store the City of Paris, and they were a wholesale and retail dealer in foreign and domestic dry goods. Leon Loeb, Eugene Meyer's cousin, came in as a partner on January 31, 1879, after Constant Meyer sold his interest to remaining partners Eugene Meyer and Nathan Kahn. As successors to S. Lazard and Company, the City of Paris moved to a new location in October 1880 on Spring Street in a building that was known as the City of Paris Block. 3 years later, the City of Paris would move again down further on North Spring Street. On September 25, 1883, Eugene Meyer left under mutual consent and Emanuel Stern became partner, and the company was renamed Stern, Kahn, and Loeb. Beginning in the early 1890s, the City of Paris was struggling and having difficulty financially. During this time, Loeb retired and had sold his shares to the Stern brothers, who then managed the store. In 1893, as announced in a newspaper article, with a debt of nearly $84,000, bank and groups filed suit for debt repayment from the City of Paris. After the store was temporarily closed, they further announced in 1894 that the store would close. On April 10, 1894, a newspaper announcement claimed the Paris dry goods would close in, quote, a few days. The lease at 203 to 207 Spring Street was to expire by May 1st. Additional articles and announcements were released. An article from 1895 had their store on 177 North Spring Street. The City of Paris did eventually close sometime around 1897 after going into bankruptcy. Auguste Fusenot came to the United States with his wife, Marie Durant Fusenot, and their daughter, Germaine, in 1873. Auguste got a job at the City of Paris dry goods store in San Francisco, where he would learn the trade and later become partner. In 1893, he began his own company, the A. Fusenot Company, and operated his own dry goods store in Los Angeles. Situated on the Potomac block, the Ville de Paris was nearly 3,000 square feet. Needing more space as business increased, in 1904 he moved the store to the former Coulter's location on South Broadway Street at the Homer Laughlin Building. This new location was much larger and was 96,000 square feet. Besides owning and operating his own department store, Auguste Fusenot was also the Los Angeles French Consul from 1898 until his death in 1907. As his health worsened in 1905, Germaine wrote Georges, Auguste's nephew, to come and learn the business to take over. Georges was born in 1879 and arrived in the United States, where he was president of the company with M. A. Milback as treasurer and R. E. Barry, the secretary and manager. In 1907, Auguste Fusenot passed away and his nephew, Georges, took over the company. Running the Ville de Paris for 8 years, the store was sold to the Emporium, a department store chain headquartered in San Francisco. Under new ownership, the Ville de Paris moved once again to an area on 7th Street that was the hub of Los Angeles' upscale shopping district. Just 2 years later, the store was sold to B.H. Dyas, and the store's name changed from Ville de Paris to B.H. Dyas Company. The layout of the store included on the lower floor men's gear and sporting goods. The second floor had clothing and accessories, leather goods, jewelry, and more. The second floor featured silks, linens, and beddings. The third had junior apparel, as well as coats, suits, dresses, and furs. The fourth floor had lingerie, yarn, and house dresses. The fifth and top floor had women's shoes and sports apparel, as well as the offices. The B.H. Dyas store closed by 1930. George Fusenot passed away in 1963. Today, the site of the former South Broadway Ville de Paris location is the Grand Central Market. During the California Gold Rush, Felix and Emile Verdier arrived on a chartered ship with the name Ville de Paris, which means City of Paris. They brought goods along with them from France, where they had previously owned and operated silk stocking manufacturer in Paris and in Nimes. As the boat pulled into San Francisco, seeing numerous French imported goods, citizens flocked the boat and they sold most of their goods instantly. They returned back to France soon after to get more goods, and returned back to San Francisco in 1851 to begin their own store in America. The waterfront store on Kearny Street was called the City of Paris, with the motto, "It floats and never sinks." During the late 1800s, French immigrant Auguste Fusenot became a partner in the City of Paris dry goods store. In 1893, he branched out and started his own dry goods store, the Ville de Paris. In 1896, the City of Paris dry goods store rented space in the Spring Valley Water Company building, which was on Stockton and Geary Streets. The building had just been built and was one of a few buildings that remained after the devastating San Francisco earthquake and firestorm that lasted from April 18th to April 19, 1906. Unfortunately, the fire damaged the interior beyond repair. The facade remained, so John Bakewell and Arthur Brown redesigned the building along with French designer Louis Bourgeois. The building was designed in the French style and rebuilt by 1909, and the City of Paris reopened after having temporary locations. Since 1909, the official city's Christmas tree was placed annually in the center of the rotunda. The new location featured the most extensive wine department of any other department store in the country. During Prohibition, though, the cellar was redesigned to be a French village. During the middle of the 20th century, the City of Paris Dry Goods Company began to expand. Besides an earlier branch opening in 1886 in San Diego and the Bancroft Building, more locations opened. In the 1940s, the Vallejo location for the City of Paris opened, and soon after, additional stores opened in San Mateo, Northgate, as well as Stonestown. As the years went by, the City of Paris remained under the ownership and operation of the Verdier family. By 1972, the City of Paris was losing money, so on March 28, 1972, they sold the company to American Factors, also known as AmFac, who operated the Liberty House department store based out of Hawaii. Under the new ownership, the store changed names to the Liberty House at the City of Paris. The City of Paris building on Stockton would eventually close in 1974 after it was sold to Neiman Marcus. On January 11, 1979, Neiman Marcus was offered $7 million for the building to save the structure, but they declined. Even though being labeled a historic place in 1975, the building was eventually demolished in 1981 after citizens and preservationists attempted to save it. The only remnants of the building is the rotunda, which has been preserved in the new building.